at the top of your page, go ahead, or wherever you stop. If you are like halfway down a page, write a squiggle. If you are on a new page, obviously you don't need a squiggle. Start and then put the title, TPT, the Phantom Toll Booth. Chapter 3. Welcome to Dictionopolis. And then today's date, February 24th, 2021. Underline it, because it is the title of our notes. Remember, we put Welcome to Dictionopolis in parentheses because it's a chapter title, and chapter titles get put in parentheses, those smaller works. The novel, The Phantom Toll Booth, would be underlined. The chapter title, which is the smaller piece, Welcome to Dictionopolis, goes in quotations. But we're still going to underline the whole thing because it is the title of our notes. Okay, we're going to start with number 12. So Ethan, I accidentally wrote number 8, but it's actually number 12. Okay, so yes, number 8. So Ethan, it was number 8, sorry. Is the word noble. Noble. N-O-B-L-E. Noble. Noble is an adjective. It's a describing word. And it means that something is impressive or admirable. Admirable means able to be admired. So if something is described as noble, N-O-B-L-E, it is an adjective that says something is impressive or admirable. Okay, guys, we only have about 45 minutes to get through vocab, reading, and the words. So I'm going to have to go through the vocab pretty quick, okay? So just do your best. Don't stress out and make all those noises because that makes it take longer for yourself. Just do what you can. Okay, number 9 is the word gesture. Gesture. We have 4 words today. G-E-S-T-U-R-E. Gesture. Gesture. So this is not gesture, it's gesture. It is a noun. And it is, where am I? A body movement. So a gesture is a body movement. If you move your body to wave, if you move your body to show that you're shocked or surprised, if you move your body to show that you're sad, those are all gestures. They are a body movement. Yes? Or you jump in surprise or scare or shock or fear. That would be a gesture. Number 10 is the word, this is a long one, triumphantly. Triumphantly. T-R-I-U-M-P-H-A-N-T-L-Y. Triumphantly. T-R-I-U-M-P-H-A-N-T-L-Y. Triumphantly. And like most words that end in ly, it is an adverb. That means it describes a verb. It describes how something is done. And it means something is done in a way that shows victory. Remember, victory means win, like you win. It means winning. So if you do something triumphantly, triumphantly, it's an adverb meaning that you did something showing victory. So if you take a math test and you know that you got a 100, you know, or at least like a really high A, you're going to turn it in to me triumphantly. You're going to walk up to me and be like, here's my test. That is what triumphantly means. Last word, and then I'll leave it up for a little while we transition to the next stage. Number 11 is the word interject. Interject. I-N-T-E-R-J-E-C-T. Interject. I-N-T-E-R-J-E-C-T. Interject. Interject is a verb, so it's an action. And it means to interrupt by saying something in the middle of a conversation. If you need to stand up to see the words, that's okay. If you need to walk a little closer for a second to see the words, that's okay. If you need me to spell any words, raise your hand and that's fine. So one more time, interject, I-N-T-E-R-J-E-C-T is a verb. It's an action that means to interrupt by saying something in the middle of a conversation. Yes, Zari.
Does conversation have two N's or is that a V?
It's a V. Conversation is spelled C-O-N-V-E-R-S-A-T-I-O-N. Conversation. Okay, I'm going to leave that up for a second. Once you're done, go ahead and put away your vocab. Chapter 3. We're on page 32. Sit up straight. Chair pushed in. Backs flat against the back of your chair. Chapter 3. Welcome to Dictionopolis. You must excuse my gruff conduct, the watchdog said, after they'd been driving for some time. But you see, it's traditional for watchdogs to be ferocious. Milo was so relieved at having escaped the doldrums that he assured the dog that he bore him no ill will, and in fact was very grateful for the assistance. Splendid, shouted the watchdog. I'm very pleased. I'm sure we'll be great friends for the rest of the trip. You may call me Talk. That's a strange name for a dog who goes tick, 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 tick all day, said Milo. Why didn't they call you? Don't say it, gasped the dog. And Milo could see a tear well up in his eye. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, said Milo, not meaning to hurt his feelings. That's all right, said the dog, getting hold of himself. It's an old story, and a sad one, but I can tell it to you now. When my brother was born, the first pup in the family, my parents were overjoyed and immediately named him Tick, in expectation of the sound they were sure he'd make. On first winding him, they discovered to their horror that instead of going tick, 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 he went talk, 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 talk. They rushed to the Hall of Records to change the name, but too late. It had already been officially inscribed, and nothing could be done. When I arrived, they were determined not to make the same mistake twice, and since it seemed logical that all their children would make the same sound, they named me Talk. Of course, you know the rest. My brother is called Talk because he goes talk, 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 talk. And I am called Talk because I go tick, 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 tick. And both of us are forever burdened with the wrong names. My parents were so overwrought that they gave up having any more children and devoted their lives to doing good work among the poor and hungry. But how did you become a watchdog? Interjected Milo, hoping to change the subject, as Talk was sobbing quite loudly now. That, he said, rubbing upon his eye, is also traditional. My family have always been watchdogs, from father to son, almost since time began. You see, he continued, beginning to feel better, once there was no time at all, and people found it very inconvenient. They never knew whether they were eating lunch or dinner, and they were always missing trains. So time was invented to help them keep track of the day and get places when they should. When they began to count all the time that was available, what with 60 seconds in a minute, and 60 minutes in an hour, and 24 hours in a day, and 365 days in a year, it seemed as if there was much more than could ever be used. If there's so much of it, it couldn't be very valuable, was the general opinion, and it soon fell into disrepute. Please make sure you're following along. Some of you are just playing with the book. People wasted it and even gave it away. Then we were given the job of seeing that no one wasted time again, he said, sitting up proudly. It's hard work, but a noble calling. For you see, and now he was standing on the seat, one foot on the windshield, shouting with his arms outstretched. It is our most valuable possession, more precious than diamonds. It marches on, it and tide wait for no man, and at that point in the speech, the car hit a bump in the road, and the watchdog collapsed into a heap on the front seat with his alarm again ringing furiously. Are you all right? Shouted Milo. Oomph, grunted Talk. Sorry to get carried away, but I think you get the point. As they drove along, Talk continued to explain the importance of time, quoting the old philosophers and poets and illustrating each point with gestures that brought him perilously close to tumbling headlong from the speeding automobile. Before long, they saw in the distance the towers and flags of Dictionopolis sparkling in the sunshine. And in a few moments, they reached the Great Wall and stood at the gateway to the city. Ahem! Roared the gateman, clearing his throat and snapping smartly to attention. This is Dictionopolis, a happy kingdom, advantageously located in the foothills of confusion and caressed by gentle breezes from the sea of knowledge. Today, by royal proclamation, is market day. Have you come to buy or sell? I beg your pardon, said Milo. Buy or sell, repeated the gateman impatiently. Which is it? You must have come here for some reason. Well, Milo began. Come now, if you don't have a reason, you must at least have an explanation, or certainly an excuse, interrupted the gateman. Milo shook his head. Very serious, the gateman said, shaking his head also. You can't get in without a reason. He thought for a moment and then continued. Wait a minute, maybe I have an old one you can use. He took a battered suitcase from the gatehouse and began to rummage busily through it, mumbling to himself, No, this won't do. No. This is fine, he cried triumphantly, holding up a small medallion on a chain. He dusted it off and engraved on one side were the words, Why not? That's a good reason for almost anything. A bit used, perhaps, but still quite serviceable. And with that, he placed it around Milo's neck, pushed back the heavy iron gate, bowed low, and motioned them into the city. I wonder what the market will be like, thought Milo as they drove through the gate. But before there was time for an answer, they had driven into an immense square covered with long lines of stalls, heaped with merchandise, and decorated in gay-colored bunting. Overhead, a large banner proclaimed, "Welcome to the Word Market." And from across the square, 5 very tall, thin gentlemen, regally dressed in silks and satins, plumed hats, and buckled shoes, rushed up to the car, stopped short, mopped 5 brows, caught 5 breaths, unrolled 5 parchments, and began talking in turn. Greetings, salutations, welcome, good afternoon, hello. Milo nodded his head, and they went on reading from their scrolls. By order of Azaz the Unabridged, King of Dictionopolis, Monarch of Letters, Emperor of Phrases, Sentences, and Miscellaneous Figures of Speech, we offer you the hospitality of our kingdom, country, nation, state, commonwealth, realm, empire, palatinate, principality. Do all those words mean the same thing? Gasped Milo. Of course. Certainly. Precisely. Exactly. Yes, they replied in order. Make sure you're following along. It'll make a lot more sense if you're looking at the words while I read them. Well then, said Milo, not understanding why each one said the same thing in a slightly different way. Wouldn't it be simpler to just use one? It would certainly make more sense. Nonsense! Ridiculous! Fantastic! Absurd! Bosh! They chorused again and continued. We're not interested in making sense. It's not our job, scolded the first. Besides, explained the second, one word is as good as another, so why not use them all? Then you don't have to choose which one is right, advised the third. Besides, sighed the fourth, if one is right, then 10 are 10 times as right. Obviously, you don't know who we are, sneered the fifth, and they presented themselves one by one as the Duke of Definition, the Minister of Meaning, the Earl of Essence, the Count of Connotation, the Undersecretary of Understanding. Milo acknowledged the introduction, and, as Top growled softly, the minister explained, we are the king's advisors, or, in more formal terms, his cabinet. Cabinet, recited the Duke. 1. A small private room or closet, case with drawers, etc., for keeping valuables or displaying curiosities. 2. Council room for chief ministers of state. 3. A body of official advisors to the chief executive of a nation. You see, continued the minister, bowing thankfully to the Duke, Dictionopolis is the place where all the words in the world come from. They're grown right here in our orchards. I didn't know words grew on trees, said Milo timidly. Where did you think they grew? Shouted the Earl irritably. A small crowd began to gather to see the little boy who didn't know that letters grew on trees. I didn't know they grew at all, admitted Milo, even more timidly. Several people shook their heads sadly. Well, money doesn't grow on trees, does it? Demanded the Count. I've heard not, said Milo. Then something must. Why not words? Continued the Undersecretary triumphantly. The crowd cheered his display of logic and continued about its business. To continue, continued the minister impatiently, once a week, by royal proclamation, the word market is held here in the great square, and people come from everywhere to buy the words they need or trade in the words they haven't used. Our job, said the Count, is to see that all the words sold are proper ones. For it wouldn't do to sell someone a word that had no meaning or didn't exist at all. For instance, if you bought a word like where would you use it? It would be difficult, thought Milo, but there were so many words that were difficult, and he knew hardly any of them. But we never choose which ones to use, explained the Earl as they walked toward the market stalls. For as long as they mean what they mean to mean, we don't care if they make sense or nonsense. Innocence or magnificence, added the Count. Reticence or common sense, said the undersecretary. That seems simple enough, said Milo, trying to be polite. Easy as falling off a log, cried the Earl, falling off a log with a loud thump. Must you be so clumsy? Shouted the Duke. All I said was, began the Earl, rubbing his head. We heard you, said the minister angrily, and you'll have to find an expression that's less dangerous. The Earl dusted himself off as the others snickered audibly. You see, cautioned the Count, you must pick your words very carefully and be sure to say just what you intend to say. And now we must leave to make preparations for the royal banquet. You'll be there, of course, said the minister. But before Milo had a chance to say anything, they were rushing off across the square as fast as they had come. Enjoy yourself in the market, shouted back the undersecretary. Market, recited the Duke, an open space or covered building in which... And that was the last Milo heard as they disappeared into the crowd. I never knew words could be so confusing, Milo said to Talk as he bent down to scratch the dog's ear. Only when you use a lot to say a little, answered Talk. Kingston, stop. Milo thought this was quite the wisest thing he'd heard all day. Come, he shouted, let's see the market. It looks very exciting. The top of your clean page, make sure that you have TPT, Chapter 3, Welcome to Dictionopolis, and then today's date. Please make sure that you have that. And then put your pencil in your journal and then close it. So once you have written the title up at the top, TPT, Chapter 3, Welcome to Dictionopolis, and today's date, put your pencil there and then close your journal so that you're ready to listen to the questions. Make sure that you're listening as I explain the questions. This is falling apart, this notebook, so I think starting tomorrow I'm going to try to just put them up on the projector, I guess. Okay, number 1. What is the watchdog's main job? I'm going to move it closer, girls at home. Please stop with the faces. I'm going to move it closer. All you need to do now is listen. Because you are so worried about trying to see that you're not going to listen to a word I said. Just listen and I will move it closer when I'm done explaining. Number 1, what is the watchdog's main job? That's text evidence. So in a complete sentence, you're just answering, what is the watchdog's main job? Now that may only take you one sentence. So if that is one that you choose to answer, I'm expecting to see at least 1.5 more. Number 2, why is Talk called Talk even though he makes a ticking sound? So you're basically summarizing that story. Number 3, according to Talk, why was time invented? So again, you're summarizing Talk's story. Number 4, what is going on in Dictionopolis when Milo and Talk arrive? So what's happening? Number 5, what reason does Milo use to enter Dictionopolis? So remember, he has to have a reason. What is that reason? And do you think it's a good reason? So that's 2 parts. The first part, you answer, what is the reason? That's text evidence. That's going to come straight from the book. That's going to be probably like 1 sentence. But the next part, do you think this is a good reason? That's opinion. Why or why not? So once you say, yes, it's a good reason, why do you think that? No, it's a bad reason, why do you think that? Number 6, what is different about the market in Dictionopolis than a market you may go to? So you're comparing and you're contrasting a market you would go to with this market that they see at Dictionopolis. Or that they hear about, really. Number 7, describe the king's advisors. What is unusual about them? So first you're describing them. What do they look like? How do they act? And what's weird about them? Think about the people that advise, like our president. What's different? How are they different? How are they unusual? Okay, any questions about the questions? Okay, make sure you can choose any one. You can answer them in any order. All you have to make sure is that you write the number. You write the whole question. If you need to get up to see it closer, that is okay. Just come up, look at it closer, finish writing, then go back to your seat. You may use your book, but try to use it as little as possible, but do use it when you need it. If you have a question, come and ask me. You must be thinking and writing the entire 15 minutes that I'm going to give you. Do you understand? Do not try to answer all 7 of these questions. If you answer all 7 of these questions, you will not have good, well thought out answers. Every question should have at least 2 complete sentences with correct grammar. Some of you really struggled with this with Wonder. You're just trying to get done, and it's getting you really low grades. Please put some thought into this. I've had some great answers over the years. Please let me be able to add your answers to these great answers. Okay? Any questions? Go ahead and open your journals back up. And when I say go, you will have 15 minutes. Do not start until I say go. Remember, write the whole question with the number. Skip a line. Write your answer in at least 2, but probably more complete sentences. Skip a line. Write the next question with the number, and then keep going. You do not have to answer every question. You should not be answering every question. You should not have time for that. You do not have to answer them in order. Go.